Hi friends, this is Casey. Today's story is called In Which Piglet is Entirely Surrounded by Water, from Winnie the Pooh. It rained and it rained and it rained. Piglet told himself that never in all his life, and he was goodness knows how old, 3, 4 was it? Never had he seen so much rain. Days and days and days. If only, he thought, as he looked out of the window, if only I'd been in Pooh's house, or Christopher Robin's house, or Rabbit's house when it began to rain, then I should have had company all this time, instead of being here all alone, with nothing to do except wonder when it will stop. And he imagined himself with Pooh, saying, "Did you ever see such rain, Pooh?" And Pooh saying, "Isn't it awful, Piglet?" And Piglet saying, "I wonder how it is over Christopher Robin's way." It would have been jolly to talk like this, and really, it wasn't much good having anything exciting like floods if you couldn't share them with somebody, for it was rather exciting. Though it's a little anxious, he said to himself, to be a very small animal entirely surrounded by water. Christopher Robin and Pooh could escape by climbing trees, and Kanga could escape by jumping, and Rabbit could escape by burrowing, and Owl could escape by flying, and Eeyore could escape by making a loud noise until rescued. And here I am, surrounded by water, and I can't do anything. It went on raining, and every day the water got a little higher, until now it was nearly up to Piglet's window. And still he hadn't done anything. Then suddenly, he remembered a story in which Christopher Robin had told him about a man on a desert island who had written something in a bottle and thrown it in the sea. And Piglet thought that if he wrote something in a bottle and threw it in the water, perhaps somebody would come and rescue him. He left the window and began to search his house, all of it that wasn't under water. And at last he found a pencil and a small piece of dry paper, and a bottle with a cork in it. And he wrote on one side of the paper, "Help! Piglet! Me!" And on the other side, "It's me, Piglet! Help! Help!" Then he put the paper in the bottle, and he corked the bottle up as tightly as he could, and he leaned out of his window as far as he could lean without falling in, and he threw the bottle as far as he could throw. Splash! And then suddenly he knew that he would never see it again, and that he had done all that he could to do to save himself. So now, he thought, somebody else will have to do something. And then he gave a very long sigh. And said, "I wish Pooh were here. It's so much more friendly with two." When the rain began, Pooh was asleep. It rained and it rained and it rained, and he slept and he slept and he slept. He had had a tiring day, until suddenly he woke up with an "Ooh!" And there he was, sitting in his chair with his feet in the water, and water all around him. He splashed to his door and looked out. "This is serious," said Pooh. "I must have an escape." So So he took his largest pot of honey and escaped with it to a broad branch of his tree, well above the water. And then he climbed down again and escaped with another pot. And when the whole escape was finished, there was Pooh sitting on his branch, dangling his legs, and there beside him were 10 pots of honey. And it was on the morning of the 4th day that Piglet's bottle came floating past him. And with one loud cry of, "Honey!" Pooh plunged into the water, seized the bottle, and struggled back to his tree again. "Oh, bother," said Pooh as he opened it. "All that wet for nothing." "What's that bit of paper doing?" He took it out and looked at it. "It's a message," he said to himself. "That's what it is. And that letter is a P. And so is that. And so is that. And P means Pooh. So it's a very important message to me. And I can't read it. I must find Christopher Robin or Owl or Piglet, one of those clever readers who can read things. And they will tell me what this message means. Only I can't swim. Oh, bother." Then he had an idea, and I think that for a bear, a very little brain, it was a good idea. He said to himself, "If a bottle can float, then a jar can float. And if a jar floats, I can sit on top of it, if it's a very big jar." So he took his biggest jar and corked it up. "All boats have to have a name," he said. "So I shall call mine the Floating Bear." And with these words, he dropped his boat into the water and jumped in after it. Christopher Robin lived at the very top of the forest. It rained and it rained and it rained, but the water couldn't come up to his house. It was rather jolly to look down into the valleys and see the water all around him. But it rained so hard that he stayed indoors. On the morning of the 5th day, he saw the water all around him, and he knew that for the first time in his life, he was on a real island, which was very exciting. It was on this morning that Owl came flying over the water to say, "How do you do?" to his friend Christopher Robin. "I say, Owl," said Christopher Robin, "isn't this fun? I'm on an island. Have you seen Pooh?" "No," said Owl. "I hope he's all right," said Christopher Robin. "I've been wondering about him. I expect Piglet's with him. Do you think they're all right, Owl?" "I expect so. Do go and see, Owl. Because Pooh hasn't got very much brain, and he might do something silly, and I do love him so, Owl." "That's all right," said Owl. "I'll go, back directly." And he flew off. In a little while he was back again. "Pooh isn't there," he said. "Not there?" "He's been there, but he isn't there now." "Oh, Pooh!" cried Christopher Robin. "Where are you?" "Here I am," said a growly voice behind him. "Pooh!" They rushed into each other's arms. "How did you get here, Pooh?" asked Christopher Robin, when he was ready to talk again. "On my boat," said Pooh proudly. "I had a very important message sent me in a bottle, and owing to having got some water in my eyes, I couldn't read it. So I brought it to you, on my boat." "But it's from Piglet," cried Christopher Robin, when he had read it. Isn't there anything about Pooh in it?" asked Bear, looking over his shoulder. Christopher Robin read the message aloud. "Oh, are those peas piglets? I thought they were Pooh's." "We must rescue him at once. I thought he was with you, Pooh." "Oh, Owl, could you rescue him on your back?" "I don't think so," said Owl, after grave thought. "It is doubtful if the necessary dorsal muscles—" "Then would you fly to him at once and say that rescue is coming? And Pooh and I will think of a rescue and come as quick as ever we can. Owl, go on quick." "Now then, Pooh," said Christopher Robin, "where's your boat?" "I ought to say," explained Pooh as they walked down the shore of the island, "that it isn't just an ordinary sort of boat. Sometimes it's a boat, and sometimes it's more of an accident. It all depends." "Depends on what?" "On whether I'm on top of it or underneath it." "Oh, well, where is it?" "There," said Pooh, pointing proudly to the floating bear. It wasn't what Christopher Robin expected, and the more he looked at it, the more he thought what a brave and clever bear Pooh was. "But it's too small for 2 of us," said Christopher Robin sadly. 3 of us with Piglet. That makes it smaller still. Oh, Pooh Bear, what shall we do?" And then this bear, Pooh Bear, Winnie the Pooh, friend of Piglet, Rabbit's companion, Pooh himself, said something so clever that Christopher Robin could only look at him with mouth open and eyes staring, wondering if this was really the bear of very little brain whom he had known and loved so long. "We might go in your umbrella," said Pooh. "We might go in your umbrella?" said Pooh. "We might go in your umbrella," said Pooh. For suddenly Christopher Robin saw that they might. He opened his umbrella and put it point downwards in the water. "I shall call this boat the Brain of Pooh," said Christopher Robin, and the Brain of Pooh set sail forthwith in a southwesterly direction, revolving gracefully. You can imagine Piglet's joy when at last he saw the good ship Brain of Pooh coming over the sea to rescue him. And as that is really the end of the story, and I am very tired after all of that, I think I shall stop there. I want to invite you to think about how this story might feel a little like our neighborhoods right now. We might be staying in our houses and only spending time with family to feel safe. Just like Pooh and Piglet and Christopher Robin, they each felt differently about the flood in the 100-acre wood. When Piglet realized they were surrounded by water, he felt very sad and alone. Owl was quite excited, though, and happy. Christopher Robin was excited to be on an island, but worried about his friends. They each reached out to each other in different ways. And I encourage you to think creatively about how you can send a message in a bottle like Piglet. Thanks for joining me today. Till next time. Bye-bye.